Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
Oi oi, Savaloys, I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture, and today we're going to give you the latest on Matt Hardy after that horrible bump at AEW All Out. We're also going to talk about the possibility of WWE wrestlers rebelling against the third-party ban, and on top of that, I've got some new details on AOP and why they were released.
Plus, Miro, aka the wrestler formerly known as Rusev, shoots on Dave Meltzer, and you will not believe who the Young Bucks wanted for the opening show of AEW Dynamite. This is the news.
Let's kick things off by talking Matt Hardy. If you watched All Out, even if you didn't watch All Out, you've probably seen this. He took a horrible bump wrestling Sammy Guevara. They came off a ladder. They were supposed to go through a table. They did go through the table, but it looked like Matt's head just hit straight off the concrete. It was really nasty. Led to all kinds of concerns that we've covered over the weekend. But the new update here from Tony Khan tweeted yesterday on Sunday evening saying, an update on Matt Hardy. It's great news. Matt's okay. We sent him to the hospital as a precaution and he passed an MRI. Doesn't have a concussion. He's being driven home. He'll be on Dynamite to thank you for your support. Brian Alvarez reported similarly, saying that Matt was on his way home and that all scans had come out clean. However, oh gee whiz, I almost called her Reba. That's Britt Baker's friend. Rebby Hardy has been very critical of the promotion and countered them several times over the weekend. So she responded to a tweet here from John Alba of Spectrum Sports, who was questioning the promotion's reportage, the way they'd handled this situation. She replied saying, gee, I wonder, could it be the company trying to justify and protect itself from backlash, or the family with no stake in this, who now have to deal with the repercussions? I guess we'll never know. A little emoji there. She'd also previously stated that Matt had 1000% suffered a concussion when it was said that he had not, and that he was having further imaging done in the hospital. And on top of this, she has directly questioned Alvarez's tweets and criticized the promotion in multiple replies. This is a situation that isn't going away. This is a messy, confusing situation where sides are reporting conflicting information. On the event itself, Matt was checked out by a doctor and allegedly returned to the match and allowed to do that, climb the scaffolding and dump Sammy off it for the win. Should he have been allowed to do that? Well, I'm not a doctor, but it certainly looked to me from watching the footage and the way he was kind of moving around or not moving around for a while there that something clearly wasn't right. The promotion have understandably come in for a lot of criticism, and they will continue to do so until this is properly cleared up. Just an ugly mess, this, Adam.
Yeah, first of all, obviously the most important thing, by the sounds of it, Matt Hardy is getting better. Our thoughts go out to him and Rebby and his family, of course. But I've just got so many issues with this whole thing. I only eventually caught up on All Out last night, and I have to say that part just completely overshadowed quite a disappointing show for me. Like, there were some great moments, great matches, but I couldn't get back into it. It was just a dumb spot to begin with. Like, even if that spot goes well, all you have is a table breaking your fall onto some concrete. So I thought, well, that was stupid. Yes, you would have had issues with people saying, well, hang on, Matt lost, so he's kicked out of AEW because of head injury. But that's far better than the fact that this has just completely overshadowed the rest of the show, as I said. There was that bit where they're sort of stumbling about, no one knows what's going on. A doctor's in Matt's ear, and then suddenly the match is being restarted. And like you say, that bit where they're climbing the scaffold, I seem to remember Matt, he may have just slipped, but I just thought this is really, really dumb, the way it's been handled. Obviously, great to hear that he's, by the sounds of it, doing better. But yeah, I just thought it was a really, really huge misstep from AEW, this.
Yeah, and it really took the zip out of what was ultimately a disappointing pay-per-view. My opinion.
And that feud's been cursed as well from the beginning.
Yeah, with the injury, with the chair and Sammy's suspension and everything. Terrible situation. Gives the promotion a real dark cloud they need to overcome.
Right, let's move on. I've got to be very, very careful here. With Miro, as I said, shooting on Dave Meltzer. All this whole story centres around, of course, WWE banning talent, which I think we're going to get into, aren't we, Andy?
Yes, we are.
Banning talent from earning money on third-party platforms, which Andy will explain in a sec. But basically, Dave Meltzer has suggested that Lana filming Bang Energy, that's my favourite energy drink that I can think of right now, was the, quote, straw that broke the camel's back. Well, Miro didn't take too kindly to this. I've got to be very careful, so apologise if I stumble through this, because there's a lot of effing and jeffing, and we can't have that. He said, oh, the effer, the mother effer. What's his freaking face, Meltzer? Once again, putting bullsh out there. I'm flipping tired of this flipping guy. Like, honestly, man, get the F out of here. Who the F are you to speak things like this? First of all, those are not true. Those are all bullsh lies. This man, one day he's gonna burn in hell. Like, it's 100%. And it's okay, like, hey, go ahead, collect everybody's money. But let me tell you, once you die, most likely you're gonna go to hell because of all your lies you say every day about pretty much everybody. Andy Murray shoot season is well and truly still open.
That is one hell of a promo from a guy who on his Twitch channel, by all accounts, is usually pretty laid back and chill and not popping off. That Bang Energy comment that Meltzer made on his message board. Obviously, Miro wading in here to defend Lana in the wake of what he sees as unjust criticism. Look, this is a hell of a promo. You gotta watch the video of it, man. Rusev, Miro's in fine form. Looking forward to Dave swearing 700 times in his response on today's episode of Wrestling Observer Newsletter. But I've got some more information on this third-party ban here. You'd have heard about this over the weekend, of course, WWE banning effectively people from using their stage names to make money on Twitch and other platforms. There's a report here from Fightful Select saying that wrestlers aren't going to take this lying down. Every wrestler that they have spoken to thus far has said they have no plans on deleting their Cameo or Twitch or other streaming platforms, adding that if WWE wants them to stop using these platforms, they must renegotiate their contracts to compensate for the loss of earnings and limitations. Exactly how it should be. Paige, meanwhile, has already claimed that she won't be getting rid of her Twitch account. She's going to rename it so it's under her real name, Soraya, which is estimated to earn her around $45,000 a month. Bloody hell. Twitch is lucrative. And WWE had previously released a statement on this matter. This was a craven, ridiculous, gross move, I think, from WWE. Both major promotions in America have done a poo with their pants on over the weekend and not had a good one. And good to see the talent are standing up for themselves, at least.
1 second. Settle my Twitch account. This is ridiculous. Sorry about that, Andy. Jesus. Nonsense, this. Like, absolutely, 100%. If you're going to take this huge revenue stream, which doesn't affect you, they're not there going, oh, you know what's going to happen on Sunday? You know I'm going to win the title. Like, they're just playing video games, and so I'm too old for this sort of thing. But we get the odd bit of information from AJ Styles, but then if you're going to say, oh, well, you can't do that because we get these stories that come out from it, well, I'm sorry, goodbye to every wrestling podcast ever, as we're about to get onto. It's nonsense, and all that's going to happen if WWE do force this through and say, oh, no, you can't do that, all we're going to do is look forward to AK Styles on Twitch. It's ridiculous. What are you doing? WWE and AEW, like Andy said, you've had a bloody nightmare, lads. Yeah. Right, let's wrap this up with a couple of final stories here. First one, coming from the Young Bucks, appearing on Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson's Talking podcast recently. One of the best wrestling podcasts out there after ours. They were talking about the debut of AEW Dynamite. And speaking of AJ Styles, Matt Jackson revealed that is who they wanted to appear on the debut episode of AEW Dynamite. Jackson said, Matt that is, people don't realise that when we were pitching to have you guys come in, it wasn't just going to be the two of you, it was going to be another person who I won't name, it's AJ Styles, but another Bullet Club person who you may not want to talk about. They continued explaining that the big plan was to have Gallows, Anderson and Styles come in, Young Bucks be like, hey, family reunion, too sweet, and then get the absolute crap kicked out of them by Styles, Gallows and Anderson. I love this idea. Unfortunately, it was never really going to happen unless something major happened, because WWE really like AJ Styles and will throw lots of money at him, you sense.
Yeah. and he signed what he's described as his last ever wrestling contract there. So there we go. Final story here, some new details on the release of Akam and Rezar over the weekend. When they were let go, it led to speculation that they'd been cut while Rezar was still injured. He was injured in March, bicep problem, was supposed to be out for 8 months. However, the Wrestling Observer / Figure 4 Online have clarified that Rezar was not injured at the time. WWE waited until he'd had a clean bill of health before letting them go. There's also some talk here that Paul Heyman, the former Raw executive director, was the driving force behind a potential push for them, so that when he was demoted or removed from power, that effectively went away. There was also no plans to reunite them with Seth Rollins when they came back to TV, and Vince McMahon didn't like the idea of bringing Paul Ellering back to television either. So it sounds like their position there was just kind of poisoned. Perhaps with the injury, maybe they would have let them go. This is me speculating, nothing else. Maybe they would have thought about letting them go in April when everyone else was let go. Either way, shame they're gone. I really enjoyed watching them, but looking forward to seeing what they do next.
Yeah, exciting to see where they go next. I could easily see them popping up on AEW or possibly even Impact Wrestling, for example. Just real shame for them. Ever since they moved up to the main roster, like, everything that could go wrong went wrong. Injuries, like you say, and I just thought it was a complete misstep. I understood why they did it, but immediately removing Paul Ellering from that team was a bad move. But I understand completely why they wanted to do it, with Paul obviously not wanting to travel, or at least that's the explanation I believe we got at the time. Apologies if I've got that wrong, but yeah, I think they're such a talented pair, and wherever they end up, I was so disappointed that we didn't see more of them as part of Bras, because I really enjoyed that setup, if I'm honest. But yeah, best of luck to them in the future. I'm sure they're going to pop up somewhere soon and just dominate, because bloody look at them. We'll always have that time that Drake Maverick wore his own little flak jacket. That was nice. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions. At WhatCulture WWE, of course, you want to get in touch with us. Matt Rain starts us off and says, "Good morning, gents. Could you see Lance Archer taking the belt off of Mox and building to a match with Hangman at next year's Double or Nothing?"
Ooh, I think it's a good idea, but I still think for me the person who's going to take the belt off Moxley is going to be heel Kenny Omega after he's had his own singles match and defeated Hangman Page, and then later down the road Hangman Page can get his revenge and take the belt off Kenny. This will play out probably over the course of like a year and a half. Yeah, I don't think the Moxley reign has run out of steam yet. It's still doing good numbers, so I think he'll defend against Lance.
Yeah, I sense so, although Lance did look amazing in that Battle Royal, as snake bit as it was.
Poor Matt Sydal.
I think you're right. Also, what on earth were the commentators doing, not mentioning Kenny Omega not catching Hangman Page when he collapsed?
I don't know.
They had a mare on Saturday night, didn't they?
No one had a good night. No one had a good night, did they?
No. Austin Gunn, always killing the game in the audience.
He loves
Good for
it.
you, mate. Second question today comes from Matt Ryan, who says, "Who would you like to see next feud with Jericho after the very entertaining feud with Orange Cassidy?"
Another young babyface he can elevate. I say young, Orange Cassidy's in like his mid-30s. No one realises that's crazy.
No.
It's been around for a long time. Like a young upcoming babyface who could use the elevation. I was kind of stumped for an answer before we came on the call here, but you suggested Jungle Boy. I'm sorry if I've just stolen your answer, but I think it'd be a good one.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Jungle Boy's a great shout. I thought potentially Sammy Guevara. I think he needs something new. I think, I don't know. Cedric made a really valid point on Twitter this weekend saying, please don't revisit the Matt Hardy feud now. It's got real. Just, let's draw a line under it. Let's all forget it ever happened and maybe mention it in a end of year list at most. I completely agree. I think Jungle Boy's the next one in terms of like elevating, I don't want to say a bog standard wrestler, but Orange Cassidy is not your usual type of wrestler, obviously, as we've seen with this feud with Jericho, but just someone trying to legitimately out-wrestle Jericho and being seen, long-haired, young, handsome, seen as almost like a young Jericho back in the day. I don't know. I think they could do have a lot of fun with that. Final question today comes from Mark Lee Willis, who says, well, a couple of ones. Funny question, do you think WWE notified Seth before getting rid of two of his gaggle of bastards? But other than that, apart from Dark Order, is there anything in AEW that you weren't keen on at the start but have grown to like despite not changing?
Well, the Dark Order have changed a lot, man, since they debuted, so, I don't necessarily agree with that point. I think the things that I didn't like at the start, or the acts that I didn't like at the start, but really enjoy now, say Britt Baker, for example, have changed, because they didn't go over particularly well. The babyface act wasn't working, they turned her heel, now she's great. So I don't really have an answer for this, because I think, everything that that was received poorly at the beginning has been changed, so it's now received well. I can't really think of anything.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think you're right there. I think anything that people had an issue with has been, at the very least, tweaked. So it's not like they've just gone... The only thing I can think of, and this is really scraping the barrel, is the theme to Dynamite. Like, I was initially like, ooh, and now I'm like the fuse, bring the boom, Dynamite. So we'll have to go with that one, I suppose. Right, let's move on to today's and finally, and we alluded to it earlier, but Big E really highlighted it on a recent episode of Late Nights with Cardigan and Karen. If you haven't watched it, go and check it out. But he said, I might not be on Cameo much longer, so book your boy now. Andy, do you and I pool our resources and get him to do the intro one day?
We really should do that before it goes away forever, shouldn't we?
Tell you what, we're not lame enough to create a Kickstarter for this. They're for actual legitimate projects. But we'll count some pennies. We'll break open the piggy bank, boys and girls, and see what we can sort out over the next few weeks. All right. We just thought we could leave something to look forward to on a Monday because everyone's a bit... after that weekend. But anyway, right, let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Michael Sidgwick is back today. Me and him are going to sit down and talk all things All Out, and we're going to look forward to Monday Night Raw. It's another mad week of wrestling, boys and girls. Sweet Jesus. Let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Watch they can follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Hans Jorg Butt, the goal-scoring goalie.
And if you know that reference, What Culture Football, you know where to go. Follow me at Adam Wilmore and follow us all at What Culture WWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.